Planting the seeds of doubt, that is at the center of a mounting battle against genetically modified food in Hawaii. Nobel Prize winning doctors say science is on their side and GMOs are safe, but opponents warn it could kill you. America Tonight's Adam May takes a look at all sides of the story.
Protests grip the normally tranquil big island of Hawaii. A loud and growing movement against genetically modified foods.
We don't want to listen to your science. We don't want to listen to your marketing. We want toxin-free, GMO-free.
Its political leader is Councilmember Margaret Willey. Last year, she introduced a bill to ban GMO crops, plants that have their genes altered, often to be more resistant to drought and disease.
We got all of these emails. Well, I think here at 3,664.
Her bill got more public support than any other legislation, even more popular than decriminalizing marijuana. The culture here in Hawaii, the history. Why is this so important?
One way that differentiates Hawaii is really that the whole idea of aloha aina, love for the land. We want the indigenous seeds that have kept us healthy. What you get from GMO is you get more of the chronic diseases, more of the diabetes and different things where it's long-term.
These kinds of claims are widely dismissed by mainstream scientists, but could have a major impact in Hawaii. That's because the world's biggest biotech companies are here. Think Monsanto, Syngenta, and Dow. They all take advantage of the year-round growing season to develop their GMO seeds here. In fact, 90% of the corn in the U.S. is genetically modified, and all of it was field tested here before going to the mainland. And it's not just new crops. 20 years ago, a virus nearly killed off all of Hawaii's papayas, the state's fifth largest crop. Scientists were able to save the industry by creating a genetically modified or transgenic version that was virus resistant.
So this is glucose.
Michael Shintaku is a professor of plant pathology at the University of Hawaii. He says the genetically modified papaya is just as safe as any other papaya.
Besides being resistant to papaya ring spot virus, there's no difference.
Councilmember Willey is not convinced. Would you eat this papaya?
Except I would prefer to eat one that's not GMO.
Not this one.
Yeah, not that one.
When she announced that her ban on GMO crops would include papayas, the local farmers here responded with anger.
We knew that the papaya farmers were going to be banned out of business. So we said, no, how is that possible? What are you going to do for them?
Richard Ha is a banana farmer. He's also the leader of a group of farmers that he says grows 90% of the food on the Big Island. He himself doesn't raise GMO crops, but he still jumped into the political fray to defend them.
This is not what farmers normally do, but what we did was we did a convoy around the county building. Got all our trucks, cattle trucks, papaya trucks, and we just went around the county building making a statement. In this particular instance, the farmers are convinced that it is safe.
It seems to me like silly to discard a whole technology that has so much promise because some people are afraid of the technology.
In August, the Journal of Animal Science published a study by a UC Davis researcher looking at 100 billion animals over roughly 20 years. It found no health differences between the animals that ate GMO feed and those that didn't. Pointing to such evidence, 2 Nobel Prize-winning scientists have publicly defended GMOs. One of them, Dr. Richard Roberts, called European protests against GMOs a crime against humanity.
This idea of making better plants has been around ever since it was discovered in Mesopotamia. In much of the world, there are very severe shortages of food. And for some politicians from Europe to go around suggesting to these people who are starving that they should not touch GM foods that are offered to them in my mind, is almost criminal.
You have two Nobel Prize-winning scientists that said we need GMOs,
Okay.
that the science hysteria around this is simply false.
Yeah, and that's right. It's amazing how powerful the media is and how powerful all that public relations and that's where.
And you think that the powerful companies have been able to buy out or shut out many of the major scientists?
Yes, and each one that comes up, you're going to see basically they become targeted, just as I'm targeted.
But Shintaku says it is he and other scientists who have been targeted in this debate.
Not that long ago, I wrote a commentary. Margaret Willey responded. She said that it's unfortunate that the University of Hawaii is so dependent on money from the biotechnology companies now that their professors have to become mouthpieces for the industry. I've never gotten a cent from Monsanto or Dow or any of those companies.
Shintaku says he and other scientists were also marginalized at the packed hearings debating Willie's GMO ban. 350 people signed up to speak on the first day alone, most of them opposed to GMOs. One was actress Roseanne Barr, who owns an organic macadamia farm nearby. She suggested demolishing all the GMO papayas.
For the people who make their living growing GMOs, you know, the Hawaiian, everybody here is very giving, and they would probably bend over backwards to help you burn those papayas and grow something decent.
Shintaku and two other scientists also spoke for about 2 minutes. He says he was dismayed that anti-GMO experts were allowed to go on much longer.
But Jeffrey Smith was this guy. They had a conference call with him. They talked to him for like 50 minutes, almost an hour. And they just kept asking him question after question after question. They kept him on. He doesn't have a PhD. He's not a scientist. But he was saying stuff that was just crazy.
Eating papaya that's genetically engineered might cause you to get more colds, more susceptibility to hepatitis or HIV, potentially precancerous cell growth, smaller brains, livers, and testicles, partial atrophy of the liver, damaged immune system, multiple massive tumors, early death, organ damage, smaller babies, fewer babies, 5 times the rate of infant mortality, hair growing in the mouths.
The hearing that you had was pretty wild. So isn't there someone that said like papayas could cause HIV or something like that?
I don't recall that one.
But it does get a little out of hand sometimes.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
On both sides. I mean, you know, where something's so emotional, and especially where like the people where their kids have been harmed.
And to scientists that say that's not true, what do you say?
I say, well, there's science on both sides, and you know what? I'm going to go with the one that keeps us healthy for the time being.
In the end, Willie exempted the papaya farmers, and the ban passed.
Bill 113 is adopted.
The anti-GMO movement here on the Big Island of Hawaii is now spreading across the ocean to the island of Maui. In a referendum, voters have approved a ban on GMOs. There is a lot at stake here, and the implications could be huge. That is because many of these biotech companies test and develop their seeds on Maui. That movement is also spreading to the mainland. Measures to label GMO foods were on the midterm ballots in Oregon and Colorado. Both failed, but just by 1% in Oregon, and they picked up large numbers of votes in more liberal areas of the states.
I thought the liberals were the ones who kind of had some faith in science.
As for farmer Richard Haw, he says he's still hoping to find middle ground. Do they have any valid concerns, in your opinion?
I think they do, you know, and so it's not just ban GMOs altogether. Maybe we should look at each individual concern. Right now, it's a blanket ban, and that's not good because there's some things that are obviously pretty good. What happened if you could develop a plant that could generate its own nitrogen? You can get away from petroleum, fossil fuel. What about climate change? Can we develop crops that will start to address that, be able to handle higher temperatures? Wouldn't that be a good thing?
Good for the planet, maybe. But it seems no amount of science will convince a growing number it's good for them. Adam May, Al Jazeera, the Big Island of Hawaii.
And correspondent Adam May tells us the ban has now been challenged in a federal appeals court. The judge overseeing the case overturned a similar ban on the island of Kauai in August, but has indicated that he might not rule the same way this time. When we return